Mr. Diess, last year you launched the ID.3, one of the most important cars in decades probably for Volkswagen Group, during what was probably the worst industrial downturn since World War II. What have been like the biggest learnings from you from this dramatic situation for you personally as a CEO and also for Volkswagen as an organization?
I think for all of us, COVID was a proof point and a big challenge. And for a big industrial company like Volkswagen being very present in China, in Latin America, in all the hotspots you could imagine, this was a proof to our organization, to the skill of our people to keep the company afloat and running, to keep supplies and also the contact, don't lose the contact with our customers was a big challenge. It started in China, where we are very important. What we learned in China, we then had to translate to any other of the economies we are working in. And I think we managed well. We could make a contribution to societies, to the people. We kept our people relatively healthy, though our staff people mostly in better conditions than in the surroundings. So that was good. Was a good experience, and it showed the performance, but also the commitment Volkswagen can show to society. So this was a good experience. On the other hand, it really, COVID accelerated the digitalization of all our processes. Customers became very digitalized. So I think it accelerated the transition of the world. So I wouldn't call it traumatic, but in some stages it was traumatic, but it was quite an experience for us. It also showed to me personally how important individual mobility is. This lockdown, it was really for me very hard to stand, and also what I really missed a lot was the personal contact with our customers, with colleagues, with partners. So, but hopefully we can recover soon. I think there's good mood now as we are overcoming COVID and we are looking into a more optimistic future now. The launches went quite well of our electric products, also in this transition period. We're now coming with a strong product cadence on the basis of ID.3, ID.4, Audi Q4 e-tron, Audi e-tron GT, Skoda Enyaq coming. So a lot of EV product hitting the markets now. So we think we did well through COVID, and now we are in good shape and very optimistic about the future.
You did mention the aspect of digitalization and software, and I think it has been one of your key priorities probably as a CEO. What does it take for you to make Volkswagen, or to turn Volkswagen from a big global industrial company into a software powerhouse? Like, which parts are still missing?
Yeah, there's still a lot missing, I have to say. The cars are already today very much software products. The lines of codes in a car are probably 10 times as many as on a smartphone. Many of our processes are already fully digital when it comes to buy a car, to get information. There's a lot ongoing. But the car really becoming probably the most sophisticated internet device you can imagine. Cars becoming driverless and really sophisticated devices. This is a big step. It's a big step for anybody, but it's also a big step for the traditional OEMs. We are gaining momentum. We are investing about $2.5 billion every year in building up our software capabilities. We are buying software companies. We are hiring skilled people. And I think we are really, by the months, we are getting better. And I think we are in quite a good position also to remain a very strong player in this future automotive world, in new auto, as we call it. So I'm happy with the progress we are making, but there's still a long way to go until, I would say, 2030, where many cars would drive autonomously. People would spend the time in the car playing with family or working or whatever. So it's a long way to go, but we are good on the way.
Yeah, you mentioned autonomous driving, and I guess the expectations in the industry have been moderated, at least to some degree, or stretched further into the future. The regulation is still very complex and in many cases still sort of emerging and developing. In which market are we going to see probably the first Volkswagen robotaxi then?
Yeah, it's probably around the world, because we have the Ford partnership Argo in the United States, and I think they are in the first row for bringing the service to market. So they are making good progress. The team is working really well. We are in China partnering with local tech companies to be also within the first companies to offer autonomous driving, mostly in private cars so far, and for sure in Germany, out of the cluster of the premium industry we're having here with the suppliers like the big first-tier suppliers like Bosch and others. We are trying to be competitive in this area, which probably will derive here in Germany more from the open road traffic, German Autobahn towards the cities, whereas in America probably it drives from slower traffic, easier environments, good weather conditions, to then become more relevant on the open road. So we are working worldwide. We appreciate that regulations in Europe and Germany have been improving recently, that we can also start testing in Europe, which we will do later this year in Hamburg. We will start with a fleet, still a small fleet, of robotaxis based on our Volkswagen electric bus, the ID. Bus. So also in Europe, we will start testing. So who is going to win the race? Let's wait and see. I think there's a huge, let's say, many very talented people are dedicating their time into autonomous driving worldwide. Rules and regulations are different. Tech companies are different. And it will be a head-to-head race. I think it's worthwhile competing there, because this change will transform the industry more than EVs or the electrification does, because the car becomes so different when it's driving autonomously, and who can drive cars autonomously will have a tremendous value in hands and tremendous responsibility. And we are pushing to be within this group.
The increasingly sophisticated cars also need an increasing number of semiconductor chips and computing power. What are your key steps that you're doing in this area to ensure the supply chain is resilient? We've seen a lot of shortages across and beyond the auto industry. What are the next steps to make this supply chain more resilient, and also maybe we do like more of this like critical technology that you do more in-house?
Yeah, first of it, what we are experiencing today is mostly COVID-driven. No, there was a huge demand of semiconductors because of the digitalization of mobile devices, any other devices, any more or less a relevant machine or device will become connected to the internet, will deliver data, and one can experience it. So the demand for semiconductors is soaring, increasing, and we have to make sure that we have enough supply. We are working hard. Murat Axel, head of our purchasing and sales division, dedicates probably 60-70% of his time now to make sure that 22, 23 we will have enough supply. I think it should be feasible, because the overall demand of automotive industry for semiconductors is probably between 5 and 10% of the global semiconductor production. So it should be a question of priorities, making the right plans. So I wouldn't expect a constraint for many years, but it will be a constraint for the coming months, and we have to work hard together with our first tiers, but also more and more with the semiconductor manufacturers, and also with the fabs, with the producers, to make sure that we get the right amount of capacity for the future. We are prepared to also do commitments, participate in the investments more than in the past, because as we said, the car becomes a computer device, and hardware is the basis for the software we are putting to the cars.
Maybe just to wrap it up quickly, touching on the political side of political affairs right now, the Biden administration has put a strong emphasis on green mobility, on electric vehicles. At the same time, there have been increasing sort of tensions between China and the US. Europe, to some degree, may be undecided. How difficult or easy is it for a big global organization like Volkswagen to sort of navigate these, what seems to be partly diverging technological trends?
When it comes to the international tensions we have been facing, we probably will always face, I also see that there is more dialogue now worldwide, which always is beneficial. We are a multinational, we are depending on free trade, and we have, in most of the regions, we have a huge workforce where we feel responsible for. Now, in Russia, we have 6,000 to 7,000 people working, in China, 100,000, in America, probably 50 in Latin America. So we are very much pushing, fighting for free trade, because we think free trade helps the world. It opens dialogue, it prepares, it improves the conditions for living the wealth in all the regions. And I think there are some positive signs besides all the tensions we are facing, but at least there's a willingness to talk to each other and try to solve problems.